Hey, this is George Rollin. I want to show you a real important exercise for all players, regardless of whether you're a beginner, whether you're advanced. It's a derivative of some Bill Adam things. It's not exactly like his. It also fits into the James Stamp school of thought, but it accompanies airplay and power play very, very well. So let me show you what my first notes of the day on the lead pipe are when I first start out. I just simply pull the lead pipe out. Sometimes I hang it in my thumb, but if I'm going to spend expended time on it, I'll just set it down. Now what I'm using today is just one of my stock mouthpieces, a G. Rollin 1 with a 7B Warburton backbore. Pretty basic lead setup. The instrument I'm using is one of the new Solista 453s. This particular one is getting ready to go out in an hour or so to James Allen down in Australia. So James, forgive me for using your horn on YouTube, but it just plays really nice. And I thought along with this video you'd also get a chance to see that just because something says 453 on it doesn't mean it's limp-wristed. It's gonna blow, and it's gonna give you a really nice sound depending on how it's set up. This particular horn is set up for lead playing. It's also great for players who are comeback players or older players. It can be set up so it gives a little more resistance up toward the lead pipe. But the main thing in getting used to any new horn or a regular day-to-day practice is to set your chops right where the notes are so that you're actually vibrating what you're playing. I always start about the bottom of the staff around F or E and play a long tone on the lead pipe. While I'm playing that note, I experiment with my teeth alignment, my lips, and my relaxation just to make sure I'm getting everything so it's flowing real easy. I'm not forcing the sound. I'd say this is mezzo forte. I'm not overblowing the horn. When I go down that scale, I'm concentrating on which part of my lips are touching together to produce the vibration. And as I go down, I'm careful not to let the lips roll out. When I come back up, I'm careful not to let the lips roll in. This keeps a fairly permanent place in that one register and it allows me to feel how that is. Then my chops react naturally. I'll feel a little tug in toward the center from the corners. I'll also feel it back here. And it establishes my set for that note. Let me just do a couple more like that. All right, so I've got that basic set. Now, when I put the slide back in and I play that note, the pitch might be off a little bit because I was just using my ear. Listen to the core of the sound and how centered and easy it is. Just a little bit sharp here. Let me pull that out. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pop up the octave. When you pop up the octave naturally, you'll feel your tongue rise toward the front, up that way, not in the back of your throat. If you do it any other way, then what you're doing is you're forcing air through and you're tightening lips down in different weird directions, but just flip the note up. Now, in this case, on this horn, because it's so easy to play, and the weight of the horn and the way the valves are set up does affect the lead pipe. So don't think that just because the lead pipe is out, that the horn is not responding, because the horn is an entire vibrating unit. And even though I'm only putting the waveform through an empty tuning slide, it's still causing the rest of the horn to react sympathetically. I feel very little change in here. I feel a slight increase in air and a slight movement with my tongue. Now, when I'm coming up and down that scale, the A is an awful note and the G is an awful note, and you may never get it or you may be able to get it. I would suggest that what you're doing when you come down that scale is you're focusing on using your air and your tongue to bring the note down. But when you get to the sticky notes, make sure that that same place is vibrating on your lip. Don't let it roll way out. Don't let it suck way in. What we're doing is we're training our chops to stay in the same position. All right, one more time for that. Now you notice the sound changes a little bit for me. I get a little bit softer as I'm coming down because I'm focusing that note in, and it's not just like it would be on the horn. But I'm training these muscles in the same regard so that when I do play the note and the overtone series is there and the length of the pipe is not restricting it because the valve combinations are correct. Now some guys can play these very fluently. When I first started, I couldn't get any notes but F, C, the D was awful, and I got the C. But just by focusing on that center part of my lip and keeping that vibrating and adjusting the air and the tongue level as I come down and not letting my chops slide back, which is a tendency, just to keep them right there in their normal position towards the middle of the mouthpiece, those notes start to come in. Now, I'll do the same thing. I'll just flip up that octave on the horn and come down. I mean, I was sharp, so I'll pull it back a little bit. And it should be easier when you do it on the horn than when you did it on the lead pipe. The note should just be there. The bottom F should become the top F. If it doesn't, go back to the lead pipe. Okay, now we'll go a little higher on the lead pipe. Okay, all right. I'm not worried about the purity of the pitches right now. There are other exercises when you do this other than for kind of a warm-up where you will spend time and lock the notes in. So don't say, oh, Roland just slaps around up there. No, what I'm showing you now is a quick warm-up and how to get used to the range. Now I turn around and put that on the horn. C just pops right out. It feels like a continuating vibration from the previous note. Now I'll go up another step. When you begin to get up high, the partials get a little closer. So if I can move it up one step, that's good, and come back down and up and down. And what I was doing there is I was not mashing my lips. I was using my air, I was controlling the center aperture, and I was using my air and my tongue to be able to flip that back and forth between F and G. You don't have to do that when you do this. You may just be happy to get up to that note and then come back down. In no way at all should this be taxing your chops. It should be a natural formation of a relaxed flow through the correct air column in the middle. I'm not overblowing. I'm not seeing that F as a high note where I've got to kill myself. I'm just letting it roll out. Now I apply that right back to the horn. Alright, so I've done that, and you can see how the high F is nice full sound, just like the bottom. It's easy to go up and down there. It changes your perspective on how far apart the notes are. Instead of being from here to there to get up to high F, it just seems like it's F, F, C, F, C, F, F, because you're doing it properly with the flow through there. I don't know of any other exercise that that moves you into the upper range so quickly and so efficiently and with the proper formation. A lot of times I see guys da 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 da, and they strain to get up, and they'll go 2 or 3 times and they'll rest and they'll try it again. It's a much more efficient way to practice to do it with the tuning slide, and it's a great way to get the feel of a new trumpet, because it's actually placing your chops and your resistance and your air and everything else within the context of the horn you're playing, as opposed to just a mouthpiece by itself. Now, ask me if I could do this on the mouthpiece by itself. I doubt it, because there's not the resistance there. It doesn't feel like a horn. I'll just give it a try. Yeah, I close right off there because I don't have the resistance to the horn coming back. Now, I could squeeze that note out from a point of overblowing or over tensing to make the F come out, but it would be a little small, weeny F, and I would have ruined my chops as far as positive reinforcement. There are ways to get things out up high, but it doesn't always mean that it's a positive reinforcement. It can be a negative reinforcement. So I would say that if you can do the simple exercises with the tuning slide out and then putting them back in that I've showed you right here, and you can do it 10, 12, 15 times, that's going to equal about 100 to 200 to 300 times with the horn on, which would totally wipe you out and take you a period of days to accomplish. So I'm not saying you're going to have a high F overnight, but if your note is a high C, you're going to have a high C that's very solid, and you consistently can come back to that. And then because you're doing this and you're learning what really makes the horn move up and down, you see when you add air, it causes the muscles to resist. And only 2 things can happen. Your muscles can resist less and you'll get a louder note, or your muscles can resist more and you'll get a higher note. But it's not because your muscles are deliberately causing the motion from high note to low note. It has to be, James Stamps always said, when you put your horn on, there's no tension at all until you blow. And that's the way it is, because your lips react to your air and your intent of your mind and your will and your ear. So if you put the cart before the horse, you tighten your lips. I recently had a question on my website about a teacher telling a student that they had to have a firm, pointed chin and firm lips. My response was, yes, that happens, but it's a result of things that happen as opposed to a way to make things happen. And really the pointed chin I disagree with. It should be coming in an upward direction or slightly bunched, never pointed, because that pulls the lower lip down below the bottom teeth edges, which is as bad as pulling the top lip up to the top teeth edges. It widens the aperture, it makes things harder to play, it creates pressure. The more pressure, the more stretching, the more stretching, the more pressure. You get into these vicious circles that I see students all the time going around with. So I've given you a short lesson here. I've said a lot of things. Watch it several times. I hope you enjoyed it. Email me questions at grollin@grollin.com. And other than that, have a great day. Bye.